Hello and welcome to the Code Clarity podcast. I'm Jean.
And I'm Rena, and today we're delighted to welcome two guests who both work at Roche. Richard Blackwell works in medical and Jenny Harrison works in marketing. Welcome, both of you.
Hi, morning. Welcome. Thank you.
So we're inviting you along today to come and talk to us about QR codes, because some people may not know that you two actually spearheaded the whole campaign to get QR codes into the ABPI Code 2024, and you're both runners up in the Best Practice and Compliance Awards that we ran a couple of weeks ago. So we'd really like to hear from you on a couple of big things that relate to QR codes. Firstly, Jenny, can I ask you about QR codes in general, but also trying to get them into the code? How long has this taken for you? What did it look like at the beginning? What was involved from your perspective?
Thanks, Rena. It's a brilliant question, and it's a journey that Richard and I have been on for, I'd probably say we started talking about this maybe 4 years ago. So Richard and I were working together on a brand where there were multiple PI updates coming through really frequently. And it was almost born from a little bit of frustration there. We thought there must be a better way that we can be doing this. So we got together and started getting into the detail of the code, exploring it. We'd always heard whispers about QR codes and their possibilities and potential, but it hadn't ever gone much further than that. So we were quite determined to see if it had legs, see if we could do something about it. So yeah, we started reading the code more. We went into the law and the Humans Medicines Act and regulations.
Right.
We got into the detail to determine, did the law need to change? Actually, maybe it's just the code. And then that was a lot of internal work, which was great to have the time to be able to do that. And then we started to engage externally and do almost stakeholder mapping to understand within the industry who was interested in QR codes potential as much as us. And that's when we made connections with Amit at the ABPI, and we formed this working group. And then, yes, together, once we'd assembled as a team, we got some power behind us to start to really explore this. And that's where our journey started.
Mm-hmm. And so this is really interesting that you're in marketing and Rich is in medical. And I think people think that only compliance people can talk to the PMCPA, but you're sort of busting that myth already. How did you find having conversations with senior people from the ABPI, etc.?
Yeah, it was an amazing opportunity to be in a room and having those conversations directly, and really being able to share a marketer and medic's perspective of those, and trying to bring to life, I guess, what it means in our day-to-day role. And for example, with traditional PI and explaining actually the back of that leave piece is new real estate for our branding, and bringing those things to life and having those conversations. Yeah, it was a real privilege to sort of be in the room and having those conversations all together.
I think if I can share as well, we don't see ourselves as medical and marketing. We see ourselves as just people who work in the industry. This is our code, and we want to see this change. And we brought those experiences into those conversations. But we sort of see ourselves as people who just want to see a change that's for the better.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Perfect.
Yeah, and so obviously we've got the change, which is amazing. You were successful in bringing that about. But I guess for a lot of us, this is the first time we're kind of thinking about the practicalities. Like you say, we've heard the rumours of QR codes, but now we've actually got it, and we can think about the practicalities of actually implementing it. You guys have lived and breathed it for the last 4 years. Do you have some top tips or myths that you'd like to burst on how you actually we should go about embracing this?
Yeah, I think the first thing to really sort of recommend is embracing it and understand that it is change. It might not be really straightforward. There might be some work to do to bring it into an organization, but definitely embrace it. And you might have to change your systems and your processes, but engage early and bring those to the fore. And I think you once you've done that, you'll really enjoy the benefits. So it's a little bit of change, but it's worth it.
Okay, so embrace change, and that sometimes it's hard for us to do, is embracing change, isn't it? But I guess from your point of view, it's worth it in the end because it was born out of a frustration that you had. Okay, so if we embrace the change, any other tips that you think?
Yeah, I think what we get asked a lot of questions about very specific examples and situations and what about this and what about that? Oh, it doesn't fit for this, it doesn't work for this. And what we often have to do is take people on a journey. And but what we would say is take each example in its own right. There's some really helpful tables available. I think the PMCPA have published a table, or you create your own table so that you understand the new code. And once you work with that, you can put each example into a table and classify it, and then each classification you can work through. And sometimes, for example, one job might fit 2 classifications, and you just meet the requirements of wherever that job's being used. So I think it's more about creating a framework and structure and classifying each example and then working through each one.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember when PI links were introduced into the code, and everyone freaked out about that, you know, in the same way that you're mentioning here. And I remember back then we also created a table, and it was super easy for people to see where the link could be used and where it couldn't be used. And it's almost like educating people on what digital really means. Well, that's how it used to be anyway. So I like the analogy of just sticking to something simple as a reference.
I agree, Rena. And I think the other thing that the table provides, I think, as Richard mentioned, sometimes people come to us with a really specific example. You aren't always going to get exactly one answer. I think the joy in this version of the code is there's flexibility there, and the table really gives us a number of options, which we should really look to embrace, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, we did a table when we were putting in our comments to the public consultation, and it's great to see that PMCPA are using a table, so people are understanding this ease of reference. There's nothing wrong with just putting that into your SOP, I guess, right?
Yep, we've done exactly that. It's just a really nice quick reference guide for people, and it's something really visual. We've got it printed on cups and we have it at hand, so yeah, that's really helped us.
What, a little mug with the QR code? Oh, that's brilliant. Well done.
Brilliant. Okay, so I mean, I think people sometimes don't realise how major this is for the pharmaceutical industry, that we've suddenly got QR codes. What does it actually, why is it so major? What does it actually mean? Just to finish.
There are so many advantages for patient safety, you know, always using the most up-to-date safety information, the most relevant safety information that people are used to. For example, the SPC, it's a familiar format. There are so many advantages to marketing, increased real estate. It's a format that, yes, QR codes isn't a new concept, so we're bringing a familiar format and bringing the code up to date in terms of how people access information. But I think overall, one of the biggest things for us is that this is our code and we can't sit there and complain about it. So like, we are responsible and we have to input. And yes, it's a journey to get that change, but this is a real showcase of you can make a change that's for the positive. If we own this code, we've got to take responsibility for making it fit for purpose.
Yeah, brilliant. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Richard and Jenny. I really appreciate your time. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
No worries. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.